Hey there, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Friday Nights at Manic Pod. My name is Vedant Naik, and I am here with Mary Anthony. She is a podcaster, she is a blogger, she is an absolutely wonderful, very intelligent human being, and we're just so happy to have her here with us. Mary, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Vedant, for inviting me on your show on Manicpod as well, the Indian platform that we have for podcasters. It's unique and completely free, which is really good for beginners like me. So, thank you again for inviting me on your show today.
Absolutely, and it's a pleasure to have you on from our end. So let's get right into the interview. So for those of you who might not know who Mary Anthony is, so could you perhaps tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you went to school, all that sort of stuff?
So, I'm basically based in Pune, and I've been born and brought up in Pune. And I went to school, St. Joseph Pashan, and from there I went to Ferguson College, which is famous all over. It's called the Oxford of the East. So I passed out from Ferguson, and after that I was in corporate field for a while, working in admin department, and after that in content writing. But then the 9 to 5 rat race didn't suit me. So I started fashion blogging because I like fashion, and from fashion I went to making short films, and I've made 2 short films which are running successfully all over the world. And with I won an award like the Orange Flower Festival last year. My film Makeup, it won the Best Film Award. And in the other one, Minutes, which I made last year during lockdown, that was also going well around the film festival. So that's how I'm a filmmaker as well. And podcasting, I started last year during the lockdown, because I had written, I had these a collection of short stories which I used to send to Saregama India. There is a collection of short stories written by me on the channel. So the ones which were not taken, so I had that, and I compiled it into a short story book, and I released it on Amazon. And I don't know how it became a bestseller. So with that, I was inspired like to take interview for authors. So that is how I started Au Rendezvous, and it's completely free. They can talk about their book and they can market their book through my podcast. Then I had all these friends from the film fraternity, from the film festivals, whomever I knew. So for them, I started director talks, and it's basically for independent filmmakers like me, who are not so known in the film circuit like the mainstream. So I wanted new faces to come and talk about their film and the documentaries and the projects. So that is how Directors Talks podcast it came into being. And after that, I'm associated with Creative Mental Health UK. So this is an organization that works for mental health and all these other issues related to stress and depression and all of these things. So with that, I started Global Conversations because I wanted to interview real people and about their stories of survival and making positive impact on the world. And I'm also a freelance journalist, so that is how Dhruv News podcast, which is latest, which I've started. So I have 4 shows going, and I'm completely booked now because I have these various guests coming in every week, and it's good to know them, and it's good to know bring out issues that are rarely spoken about. So I really enjoy taking interviews.
And I'm honestly in awe of the fact that in the time that lockdown started, you have 4 podcasts off the ground, and they're all performing really well. And yeah, I'm just in awe of that. So you mentioned that you're a fashion blogger, and then that the rat race and all that didn't agree with you. So, what made you? Because blogging is also a fairly successful thing that a lot of people do, especially here in India. So, what was it about what was it that made you make the leap from blogging into podcasting? Was it the fact that you actually get to physically have a conversation? Was it the medium itself? Could you maybe talk a little bit about that?
Fashion is like, I like the outfit part of it. So I could blog about outfits, and I was working with brands. And I did go to Pune Fashion Week also as the first blogger from Pune. But then when the lockdown hit, you have to work with brands and you have to sell their products. So I thought that is a little unfair to ask, people to buy products during the lockdown, because since everybody was going through a bad phase. So I kind of stopped that for a while. I may start it again, and I'm not into makeup so much, so I cannot blog about makeup, and I hardly know anything about the makeup products. So that is not something that I like. And that is why I stopped blogging on fashion, and then I went over to podcasting because as a journalist, I like to connect with people, and I thought there are issues which are not brought up in the mainstream media as of now, and I thought that would be better if I start interviewing people and get to know about the various issues that the world is facing at this moment. So that is how all of this started.
Wonderful. Great. And just to circle back, you talked about how you had made two short films and how your experience with that spawned Director Talks, which is on Manic Pod as well. And you talked about how you founded your own company, Morart Films. And so I was just because you were talking about how your films have gone to festivals and everything like that. And I was looking up the Morart Films website actually, and I was just wondering where can I find your short films? Because as someone who's into the art of film myself, I would really like to see them myself.
Both of my short films on the Morart Tube YouTube channel.
Okay,
So you can watch it on the YouTube channel. And even the director talks, I keep uploading it on the YouTube channel. So even the interviews with my friends who are into the film making, and they have great advice and great documentaries, like great short films, great directors. You can watch them on my YouTube channel, Morart Films. So it's all there.
great. I'll definitely be going there right after this interview. Uh,
Thank you.
but so because I've noticed also on social media when you post little snippets of your interviews, it's something like what we're doing right now. It's a Zoom call, and
Yeah.
so you can see your face, and you can of course see the face of the person you're interviewing.
Yes.
Do you find that when it comes to podcasting, that being able to see the person across from you, even if it is virtual, it helps bring that kind of flavor to the conversation that perhaps you wouldn't be able to get if it was just through the phone or through no video and pure audio?
Yeah, I find it comfortable talking to person face to face, but I make sure that, like, I ask the guest if they are comfortable to come on video, and appear on video, and make sure that they are comfortable. And if they are, then it's okay. Like most of my guests, all of them have been on video. Nobody has said that I just want to do audio. Like in case if I in future if someone is not comfortable, then that is fine with me, but I find it more connectable to see a person face to face and have a conversation. Yeah.
Got it. And your guests, I mean, the caliber of guests that you bring in is also incredibly impressive, and many of them are not based in India as well. So, I'm just wondering what the logistics of that. What goes into planning an episode with someone who might be on the other side of the world, like America or in Europe, and how what goes into the planning of a regular episode of one of your podcasts?
Uh, I normally look for guests on Facebook groups. Facebook, I don't use it for personally, my personal use, but I follow a lot of groups on Facebook which are interesting for podcasters, for bloggers, and for journalists. So through that, there might be some snippet of interview or some article about them, something that catches my eye. Then I like Twitter as well, and from there also I keep looking for tweets, interesting tweets or interesting personalities, and I message them directly. I'm not like scared or anything. Like I'm not scared of a person saying no to me. It's okay. You want to come, you can be my guest, but mostly all of them have, agreed to be like on my show, and I'm quite lucky that they say yes to that. And why they are based out of India is because I did try to get Indian guests, but they have a lot of demands. Like they want to get paid. Then some of them they want just publicity, or that their personal brand or marketing. And uh, I don't want to bring in guests like that. I would prefer people who are open to conversations without having all these kind of dramas. I don't want to make it a drama show like the others. So it's best if the talk is real and the conversation is real. So I prefer that when I select the guest.
Right. And because we've also on our end, when we've had to create shows and find people to come onto our shows, it's always fascinating how, especially in India, the money aspect of it is always sort of first and foremost. And and it always is so great and so refreshing when we find someone who's genuinely doing it for the art and for the passion of it. And especially with something like Global Conversations, which is about mental health, and then Director Talks, which is film, and then All Round Review, which is about books. Which brings me to the question of, you talked about how when you were in college you went to Ferguson College, and I was looking you up on LinkedIn. You have quite an extensive college experience, where you've covered things like French, journalism, economics. So just how important is learning for you in the grand scheme of things?
I always wanted to be a journalist. When I was a kid, I come from an army background.
Hmm.
So we cousins, whenever we used to play, I used to be the journalist, and my brothers, they used to be the army, officers. And luckily, they have grown up and they've gone into army. And I've become the journalist. And my sister, she used to play the doctor, so she's become the doctor. So whatever we did when we were young, we all have gone into the same profession.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so I think your experiences do teach you. Like even in college, I was into extracurricular activities and mostly into organizing things, not in participating in the dramas or all these things. I like to be behind the scene. So like maybe organizing or directing and all those things. So it's from my college days I've been like this, and it stayed with me throughout. So I think that has helped me in connecting with people even now during my podcast shows.
So, and you talked about how when you were a kid, you would always play the journalist. Did you ever get to kind of uh, come full circle, I guess, where you might have been playing a game where you were interviewing, your siblings who became soldiers, or who became a doctor? Did you ever find yourself in that weird space of, oh my God, I'm interviewing an actual soldier about their experiences, or I'm interviewing an actual doctor about their experiences? Did you ever have moments like that in your career?
They all are very busy in their personal life right now. So yeah, but we do talk and we do have conversations where we share our childhood memories, and we do say that whatever we did or whatever we played during those times, we are living it now, like living the dream, you can say. So yeah, we do have personal conversations are there like that.
And so, we talked about the headaches of arranging logistics of a podcast. Uh, is there any one particular story about getting one particular episode done that screams out at you? Like it was just such an absolute pain to get done, but you felt just so satisfied when it was done. Is there any one particular story?
No, luckily I have been very lucky because I stick to certain rules when I make a podcast. The yesterday itself, I was reading comments on Facebook, and people were saying that they don't like the host and the guest talking for 15-20 minutes about the leaving the topic and talking something else in the beginning, right? In the
Hmm.
beginning, so that kind of the listener loses the interest. So I was like, yeah, that is right. Like quite a few people had commented about it. So the thing is, whenever I do a podcast, is I send them the questions beforehand, and if they're comfortable in answering that, then I ask them if they're okay with it. And before beginning the show, I always brief them like, this is the agenda. This I'll be asking these questions, and this is how it will go. And I wrap it up within 20 minutes or 25 minutes. I don't go more than that, and it's very specific. I begin it at on the point, and I don't waste the listener's time or the guest time, because the guests that I get, they have very busy schedule. They are waking up at 5 a.m. or some are waking up at 6 a.m. and they have these hectic schedule. So I kind of don't waste their time, and I stick to the agenda that I have, and that is how like everything goes smoothly. So I can edit it out smoothly, and I don't do a lot of editing also. Like I don't add any dramatic music or all those kind of litter that goes in between. Some of them do that, I have heard, but I don't do that. I keep it real. I think keeping it real is you you can do it much better.
And when it comes to, of course, recording the interviews and getting the guests and all that is one element of the whole podcasting experience. So naturally, after that comes the editing portion of it, where you have to, put it together. So with your podcast, how much of what is the editing process like on your podcast, or does it vary podcast to podcast, or is there one uniform process that you follow?
No, there's one uniform process. I just edit it out on Anchor. Maybe I add a cue music in the beginning and the end. That's it. And whatever is recorded on Zoom, the audio goes as it is. Or maybe sometimes I trim it. Online, you have all these various tools which are free. You can use it for video editing and audio editing. So I use that and I just put it up. So it's very easy for me. I do all that.
Great. And
Yeah.
so, what is you talked about how you look at a very specific profile of guest for your shows, and of course, you're expanding the number of shows that you have worked on. You've expanded the range of topics that you get to talk about with incredibly smart people. Uh, what is in the future for Mary Anthony in terms of the podcasting experience, in terms of films, and I guess just life in general?
Uh, to be honest, I don't plan anything for the future because every day it keeps changing
Hmm.
by the minute. So I just go with the flow. Whatever is going now is good. And yeah, I do want my podcast to have like the season one to have 50 episodes each for my shows, the four shows.
50.
Yeah, 50
Okay,
episodes
great.
for season one.
Okay,
So I think I will easily complete it because I'm having a very steady flow of guests.
right.
I have no qualms in that. And yeah, that is the future. And for films, yes, I'm planning to do a documentary whenever the situation is right. Like we come out of the pandemic, maybe next year. It depends because the film is something that you need a crew and all that. So it's a little risky right now. So I might do a documentary on some social issue. That is my plan for the films. And journalism is going on as usual. It will be on Dhruvi News. So that is there.
Right. And it must be so great, with the podcasting that it is something that everyone can do even in the middle of a pandemic because it just involves sitting at a computer and, if you're
Right.
lucky, having the right equipment. But so with that, that was really the final question that I had. But thank you so much for coming onto the show, Mary Anthony. It was such an incredible pleasure to have you with us. And also, when you do eventually get your film off the ground, please don't hesitate to hit me up as well because I'm also a aspiring film person as well. And
Sure.
so I just want to finish the interview with a quick little plug for ManicPod. We are a podcasting platform based in Mumbai, and we have a lot of new, great, exciting features like Micropods, our 3-minute micro podcasting feature. So, Mary, if that is something you're interested in, please do check that out. We have done a complete overhaul of our website with
Yes,
new
I
look
saw that.
and everything.
Yeah.
Yes, it is absolutely incredible. And we have so many great new features coming. And Mary, as a blogger, we're doing this new approach for bloggers as well, where we take their entries and convert it into a voice so that people
Hi.
can listen to our blogs as well. So a lot of exciting stuff coming, and a lot of exciting stuff coming from Mary Anthony as well. Please do check out her podcast on Manic Pod or wherever you check out your podcasts. And thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you, Mary, for joining us. It was an absolute treat.
Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure, Vedant. Thank you, Manic Pod.
Thank. Good night, Mary.
Good night. Good night.